Okay, we are live on LinkedIn and Facebook. I am James Bacon, the Body Fix Coach. I'm joined today by my co-host, Jenny.
Hi, I'm Jenny from Go Health and Fitness.
Great.
Also,
go on, you. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, also known as Give It 10 Jen. So I'm doing broadcasts every day at the moment. Give it 10 ideas to get healthy and fit.
Awesome. So first live show of the new year. We agreed to do this just before Christmas, I think, just randomly, and here we are. So I'm a little bit nervous. How are you?
Yeah, feeling a little bit nervous actually, but it's all good. It's all good.
We'll see how we go. So we're on every week at 12 across LinkedIn, Facebook, all those social media platforms. We've got two special guests today. We've got Peter Gregory, business coach, and then we've got Ed, BBC radio DJ and Inside Media's coming on to give us some insights into their health and fitness. So New Year's new resolutions, Jenny. What do you think to those?
I think they're a good idea. I definitely think they're a good idea, but I think people can get too wrapped up in doing too much all at once. And I think the thing is, especially when it comes to health and fitness New Year's resolutions, people say, I'm going to eat more of this and less of this, and I'm going to lose weight, and I'm going to get fit, and I'm going to sort my mindset out, and I'm going to meditate, and I'm going to run, and I'm going to, and all of a sudden we try and do too much too soon, overwhelm soon sets in, and you're back to square one by the middle of January, which is, I guess, where we're heading to now, actually, isn't it already?
It's nearly the end of January, isn't it?
Yeah, it's certainly, isn't it? Yeah. Madness.
Yeah. My views on New Year's resolutions, I don't particularly set any because just try and carry on what I did last year, health and fitness. It's already in my routine every single day. But for those that haven't maybe trained for a while, maybe set some resolutions, set some intentions and some actions, and then just start moving. Right, movement is medicine. That's my views.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's all for me. I'm very much about habits and what daily habits have gotten you to where you are now. What do you need to change, and what little things can you tweak day by day to be better than you were yesterday? And it's not about doing a million things all at once.
Absolutely. So, shall we bring on our first guest?
Let's do it.
Mr. Peter Gregory from I Am Peter G. All right, Pete, you're coming in. Welcome. I'm just going to change the screen around so we all look a bit. How's that?
Yeah. Hello, everyone.
Good. Hi.
Pete, give us an intro. Who are you? What do you do? Where do you come from?
So I'm Peter G, a business coach, mentor, speaker, generally nice guy, I suppose. I really help small to medium-sized businesses get out of their own way and get a business that gives them choice and freedom. Because life's too short. Business should be working for you, not you working for a business. So that's what I do.
Awesome. So, give us your view then, Pete, on resolutions and your point as a business coach that may help people to take some action or get out of their own way.
Well, resolutions can be a good point where you realize you've got to change. You can't carry on the way you are. So obviously, if you're in pain, you can't carry on working around in pain. So you need to do something to change. The same with habits. We need to start building habits, those healthy habits. Obviously, after Christmas, that's a really good time because we're all a bit overhung from the sugar rush of all the biscuits and cakes that we're eating. So New Year is a really good time when people make resolutions. But it's interesting that we make resolutions at certain key dates, isn't it? I was reading a book a few years ago about how we make how dates make an impact on actually when we decide to do a change. So New Year is a good one. Obviously, we talk about in our marketing. We talk about, for instance, I talk about vision and what's your goals for the year. Same for you, James and Jenny. You talk about what's your fitness goals. And we've seen it at the gym. I mean, I remember the gym. You go to the gym in New Year, everyone's made a resolution. The gym is absolutely packed. By the end of January, it's dead again because people have gone and then they've not kept up the habit. They haven't got the habits and the systems. I mean, it's the same for when somebody's had a birthday and there's a 9 in the year. Or I'm 49 or 59. Suddenly they start to look back and they go, oh, I need to change. And then they do something. But do they sustain it? It's the same during the week. Oh, I'll start on Monday. Oh, I'll start next Monday. Oh, this day's gone a bit rubbish. So, with my eating, it's gone a bit rubbish. I'll just eat what I want today. I'll start again tomorrow. And it's these dates. So resolutions and when we do things is really related around dates. It's very interesting the way the humans behave. So obviously people who are listening, if this triggers anything, you go, actually, yeah. And I don't want to go too deep, but actually time and clocks and everything are just a human concept. We don't really need to tie anything to it. I can have a bad day with food. It doesn't mean I have to wait till tomorrow. I can start straight away. If we want to make a change around our fitness, we can start straight away. And it's that type of thing. So yeah, we can have resolutions, but maybe we just need to have those overarching resolutions. So it's a very interesting subject for me. And it goes back to people's behaviours. But obviously, James, you see this at the beginning of the year, don't you? You get loads of people. Jenny, you get loads of people. What do you think? Do you see that?
Yeah, well, absolutely. People's best intentions are, 1st of January or maybe the 2nd of January. We'll get going with, eating well, moving more, doing some stuff, starting to find out more about it. But yeah, without the right strategies in place and without the right kind of plan, they soon fall by the wayside. Most people take on too much. But it is, I love the idea of you can just start straight away. You don't need to wait till
Monday.
Full moon or Monday or whatever it is for you. It can happen straight away. That decision to change, that decision to stop halfway through the packet of biscuits instead of polishing off the rest of the packet of biscuits can happen straight away.
It's interesting. I mean, how many people have you had come with you or come to you and said, "Oh, I'm going to do this change," and then you catch up with them a few months later or the next year, and they're still making the same resolution because they haven't put the right things in place. They actually weren't committed, or they didn't. Obviously, change is hard. Habits are hard. Jenny, you talk about anchoring habits to existing habits. James, you talk about actually, you've got to keep going. You've got to get that consistency. But that is hard unless you've got the right people around you. Which obviously, as coaches, that's what we specialize in. Yeah. It's interesting the amount of people who come back to me with the same thing, but haven't actually had the right people around them to help them. So, I'm sure you find that with your clients, James.
Yeah, absolutely. A big thing for me is when people make these resolutions and they come in with the all or nothing mindset, right? Yeah. So they're absolutely all out for the first couple of weeks. They end up really sore. They can't move. They can't get out of bed. They can't sit on the toilet, right? And then they give up because they're like, I don't like this pain. So that all or nothing mentality sometimes is not a good idea for anyone, right? Even myself as a coach when I train, because I know that the body's got to adapt to what we do, and it takes a bit of time to build up that capacity in the body. So that's my first tip for today. If you're watching live, start slowly, adapt.
Yeah, small steps.
Yes. What do you think on that, Jenny?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Most people, it's that whole mentality of no pain, no gain, isn't it? And it's actually, that's not right. You don't need to be in pain. If you're in pain, potentially you're doing it wrong. Now, not to say if you haven't done anything for a long time or ever, then you might be in some discomfort and maybe a little bit of DOMS and some pain, some muscle soreness. But really, that's, as a coach, that's a surefire way to disencourage people. That's probably not of doing something. It's it's adapting slowly, but sometimes this slowly approach, as I talk about a lot with my habit coaching, it's not sexy. People just want they want 6-pack abs yesterday. They don't they want to do these 30-day blitzes, and they think that's what they need to do. But of course, beyond the 30 days or the whatever days it is, 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, then they just fall off because they haven't created those sustainable habits going forward beyond that. Because people, it's not a long-term change. Doing little things, changing little things every day is it's not what sells. It's not sexy.
We're very much in a society of instantaneous gratification.
Yeah.
We get things really quick and we want results really quick. If you're investing in yourself or in your business or in your fitness, it's a long-term thing. But people want a quick fix.
Yeah, I love what's he called? Is it James Clear talks about in the Atomic Habits? He talks about that 1% shift. Just a 1% change will take you in a whole new direction in a year's time, in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time. Could add a year, 10 years to your life by changing one little thing today and then just compounding on that. But it's very difficult to see that when you're in the moment.
I think it's because so sometimes I work with my clients about visions and looking in the future. Some clients actually struggle to actually see the future because they haven't got a relationship with the future self, because that future self doesn't exist yet. They've got a relationship with their past self, so they can understand their past stuff, which sometimes is not helpful because they think, oh, I've tried this before, it's failed, I'll fail again, which is not helpful thinking. But some people don't think they need to invest in themselves now to serve their future self. They want that quick fix. They haven't got. They don't realise, and it may be useful for some people. You know, looking back last year, where were you last year? Especially around your fitness on your journey. You know, thank yourself for your past self for all the effort you did, for getting up in the morning, for investing in coaches, for getting out on the cold mornings. I think people, you know, have got to be wise that things do take time that are worth it.
And you're right as well, Peter, about talking about the investment, because so many people think, well, I should be able to do this myself. There's enough stuff online to be able to figure it out for myself. You know, I say to people, you know, you hire electricians and plumbers and roofers and decorators to do stuff in your house. Why should you suddenly feel like you're an expert on the body just because that's where you live? You know, people feel that they should be able to do this stuff for themselves, but it's not the case. You know, hire experts, invest in yourself as you would. People pay money for their cars, for their homes, for their electrics, and all the rest of it, but they don't invest that money in the place where they live. You know.
Yeah, I think they forget also how much time they save. We have all learnt things, and we bring that knowledge to somebody very quickly. They forget actually there's a saving on time. There's also a saving on drama, because obviously we're there to support them. But it's very easy, especially around exercise, to be starting to do exercise and to do it wrong and injure yourself.
Yeah.
Even when you work with someone. So obviously you check in with your clients to make sure and correct them on their exercises. You know, you can go at it like hell for leather, especially in the gym where it can be quite dangerous. But if you're doing the exercise in the wrong way, you're probably actually storing up an injury, or even worse, you're going to drop the weights on you because you don't know what you're doing. So, you know, if you're going to do something, do it properly. It's as simple as that.
I think that's a fair point, but then sometimes people aren't aware that they're not actually moving properly, and then they go in already at a disadvantage, and that's pretty much where I come in. But yeah, it's I definitely recommend getting a coach and having a look over how you're moving before. That's not an upsell from me, but yeah, get someone to have a look at how you're moving and make sure you're doing the exercises correctly, because that can be a good thing. Definitely, most be a good thing, right? So. We've had a first comment from Mr. Chris Clark. We know Chris. It's a lifestyle change. I managed to put down the biscuit. Managed to put the biscuit down today and had a banana. It's being strict on yourself too. Any comments?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well done for a start. Yeah, good job on the banana. Yeah, you have to be. People think that these things just happen, but you have to be disciplined. You know, you do have to get up and get stuff done. You do have to make a decision. You do have to decide to be different than you were yesterday. You do have to make that decision to, say, put the biscuit down and pick up a banana. And it does come with discipline, and disciplines can almost feel like a dirty word sometimes. It's like, oh no, we don't like that. But yeah, you've got to be strict. You've got to be disciplined to make a difference and to see the change you want in your life.
Yeah, no, it's really getting fitter, one less biscuit a day at a time. It's a brilliant way, just cutting those things. And as you say, discipline. People talk about willpower as well, which is a hard one to do, which is why I come back to you, Jenny, about the systems and the habits. It becomes so much easier to be disciplined and not to have to worry about willpower if you put the systems and habits in place. If you rely on discipline and willpower, you're going to struggle, because some days are good, some days are pretty rubbish.
Yeah,
and it's easy to.
I always say, think about willpower as a muscle. It gets worn out. You know what it's like in the morning. You're just like, well, I can work out, and I'm going to have a smoothie, and I'm going to do all this great stuff. And by lunchtime, and depending on what work you do, that willpower muscle is just going, oh, I'm done. I'm going to pour myself a massive coffee and have a beer and a glass of wine and a big packet of biscuits or whatever. It's just because that willpower, it only lasts so long, and then it just, at the end of the day, and people think that that's their failing, but it's not. If you think about willpower as a muscle, you wear it out when you're constantly testing it all the time. You've got to put those strategies in place that it becomes a habit, that you reach for a banana instead of a biscuit, that you reach for a herbal tea instead of a coffee in the afternoon, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's the emotional state as well. So, for example, I could have gone off my eating habits today and gone off in this drop, because I went out to the car this morning and the battery was flat. Drama, suddenly then you go into emotional eating and things like that. Those are the things that will knock us out.
The triggers, the triggers.
The triggers. And that's the reason why, we need those systems in place, but also we need the people around us. So I can ring up James and go, just get it.
You're not having much luck with that car, are you, Pete?
No, it was oil like last week. Then the windscreen wipers wouldn't. It's got MOT this week. But it's those type of things in life, and it's even worse if you're in a stress. So, I used to work in corporate land, as I call it, and I used to work in an office, and they were very kind to us. They put a nice vending machine in. That was brilliant. I'd come in the morning, I've got my healthy porridge, I'm really good, I'm going to be really good today. Get to lunchtime and the day would start stressing me out, things would go wrong, and you'd see me trundling off down, and I'd be there at the vending machine getting the chocolate in the afternoon. So, if that vending machine wasn't there, I wouldn't be doing it. So it's those type of things. Yeah. But it is very interesting. You've got to have the systems in place and the support in place, I think.
Yeah, right. There's that whole kind of, we deserve it mentality as well. It's like, I've had a hard day, I deserve a pint, I deserve a glass of wine, I deserve a big box of chocolates, and it's that, do you deserve that, or are you doing yourself a disservice? Don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of a glass of wine, but it's just depends what your goals are and depends what you're trying to achieve, and how you reward yourself. Do you always have to? We live in a society that everything's around food and drink and rewarding ourselves with, and we reward our kids with bars of chocolates and sweets, and we persuade them with sweets, and those neural connections start early.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. My kids are a good example of that. Yeah, with me.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to bring on Ed, and we'll have a look at this comment from James Fowler. He's put something up. So, Ed, you ready? Yeah. Mr. Ed Nell, welcome.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Hi.
I've invited you on because you've got a radio voice.
Have I? This is just how I talk normally. I wouldn't have said it's a radio voice, but fine. Okay.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Thanks very much. Yes, I am a radio presenter. That is correct. People always say to me, "Oh, wow, you're obviously destined to be a radio presenter because you've got a voice for it." No, this is just from talking all the time. I used to sound like this all the time, but it's gone really deep and just the way it is now. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, give us a little bit of a background on your health and fitness journey. You've been a client of mine now for forever, no? 2.5 years?
It's about that. Yeah. I've always had a little interesting relationship, I suppose, with health and fitness, in that I used to be a professional rugby player, only for 2 years, admittedly, because I destroyed my knee when I was 21. So that was the end of that. And really, health and fitness for me at the time was pretty much my life, really. I'd train twice a day. Normally it'd be the gym in the morning and then out on the pitch in the afternoon. And eating was purely fuel to make sure that I could be better. And pretty much everything was really around being better at the sport that I was training for. Then when I destroyed my knee, it sort of changed your mindset. And I kind of went, well, I can't do rugby anymore. So I'm just going to stop doing fitness. And actually, I'm going to be able to eat all the things that I couldn't eat before or shouldn't have eaten before, because I was all about the protein intake or whatever it did for me. And I think probably through my 20s to my mid 30s, I just went, I don't need to do any exercise, and I won't do any exercise. And I'm going to eat whatever I want, and it's going to be amazing. Because the whole thing, and this will sound really weird, the whole thing about being healthier and living longer wasn't really something that I was that bothered about. It was really about when I was being healthy and eating the right things, it was because I wanted to be better at the sport. And when I couldn't play that sport anymore, the reason for being healthy kind of went away, and I just didn't really, I was like, I'm not that bothered about, I look like I look, there's only so much you can do with the materials you're given. So that's it. And that's where I was, I guess, really.
So where are you now?
Well,
where are you now?
So yeah, on my back, I think probably I did something to that when I was playing rugby, and as a result, it became a problem. Which is how I ended up seeing James. I'd seen loads of professionals to try and solve my back problems. And it sort of got to the stage of chronic pain. And then I got sort of became a dad and I wanted to move around a bit more and enjoy my children and muck around with them and things like that, but couldn't. So saw loads of people, didn't get the results, saw James, and I've got the result, and I'm pain free in my lower back and have been for a couple of years now, which is brilliant. And I'm doing a lot of movements I didn't think I could ever do again, in terms of lifting pretty decent heavy weights and doing squats and things like that. And yeah, so I feel like I'm in an all right position in terms of what I can do, but I would like to be, I think like most people, a bit slimmer would be nice. Maybe over lockdown, I might have indulged a little bit too much, because you were talking, Jenny, about habits. And I'm actually just going through the James Clear Atomic Habits book at the moment, actually, which is kind of one of my New Year's resolutions. It's really good. I love it so far. So good. But it is that thing of, I think during lockdown, I was pretty good before lockdown, and I was kind of where I wanted to be weight wise, fitness wise. But a lot of people got really fit during lockdown. I did not. I ate a lot of things and I drank a lot of things and enjoyed myself. But coming out the other side to kind of reestablish those good habits, I found really hard. I don't know how it was for you guys, but it's been a while since we've been out of lockdown, but I'm still not back in it. I'm really not.
Yeah, it does take discipline. It does take working at it. It does. I've kind of developed my own strategy for developing habits in terms of, what's the trigger for them? How can you make it super easy? Why do you need to make it, a need for you to keep that habit? And, unless we, identify why we need to do that ourselves, we just don't make it a priority. So it's kind of, it's really thinking about those things, and then it's getting yourself a mantra, right? This is what I talk about with my Give It 10 habits. It's like, right, when I boil a kettle, I'm going to do something super easy, maybe one press up on the counter. I need to do this because I want to stay strong, and then I'm going to give myself a little celebration when I've done it. And I can talk for hours about this, but the celebration is the really important part. That releases a bit of dopamine in your brain, and your brain goes, "Oh, we like this. That was a celebration." It doesn't really know, what you've done necessarily, but it just is conscious that activity caused you to do a celebration. Whether you've kind of falsely given yourself a high five in the mirror and gone, "Yay!" Even if you don't feel particularly like celebrating, it's kind of like that, creating that kind of dopamine fix in your brain. Your brain thinks, "Oh, I'll do that again." And that's kind of the missing piece of the puzzle for a lot of habit formations, is actually that dopamine fix that our brain attaches to when it wants to do something that gives us pleasure.
Yeah.
Even if we're tricking ourselves a little bit.
Yeah. You just said something about priority there. So I think that's the problem for a lot of people. They don't prioritize their health and fitness until it gets to the point where they have to, right? So they need to work on that sort of relationship with themselves, where they're putting themselves first. Any thoughts on that? Anybody?
Yeah, no, definitely. So many people don't take action until something, like you say, becomes a necessity, until they're in pain, until, heaven forbid, something happens to a family member and they suddenly realize that they're heading down that same path, or whatever. And suddenly it's a case of, oh, bloody hell, I better do something about this now, rather than, being proactive when you're feeling good to keep those good things going. It's all about with such a reactive society. And I talk a lot about being, how the National Health Service could do with investing. I mean, obviously it's in a mess at the moment anyway, but let's not go down that line. It's, investing some money in, proactive behaviors rather than reactive medications and surgeries and things.
Yeah. But doesn't it come back? So I remember at school, PE, which was always quite interesting. As James' point, I didn't like the team sport, so luckily I had a good teacher, so I could go away and do different things. But we're not. We're just thrown in to do sports, five-a-side or cricket or something like that, or softball, which was a total misnomer because that was the hardest ball I've ever come across. Once you caught it once and your hands were numb, then you made sure you never caught it again. I realised they used a hockey ball, but especially in my day. And PE and physical sports is getting even more crushed in the curriculum. They just get you out there and playing things, but they don't actually educate you around health, wellness, and fitness. They don't give you the tools and the knowledge that you need to actually stay healthy through the rest of your life. And as you say, it becomes a problem, one for us, but for the NHS, which is really struggling now because we are all having these unhealthy lifestyles. We're not educated at a young age. And maybe we should be changing the education system around PE, and it should include how our bodies work, you know, how to stay fit and that type of thing. I think that would make a huge change to the country.
It would, because most people, you know, and I have daughters as well, you know, they hate PE and those kind of lessons and team sports and stuff. It's just like, no, let's have some more education around, rather than just biology GCSE or whatever, but let's actually have some education around taking care of your body, what to eat, you know, rather than waiting for it to be a GCSE subject of, we take biology or you take food and nutrition or something. People who are not interested, actually, you know, let's invest in your body, like, and spend time on your body like you spend on your phone. And let's take better care of it. Let's get the apps in our body.
It's amazing, isn't it? Because I think a lot of us, I reckon there's a split, isn't there? Some people absolutely know what they should be doing, but don't do it. And they'll, yeah, I'll do that tomorrow and that'll be fine. And some people literally have no, as you say, no education at all. I mean, I was hosting an event at a casino, which is quite often something I do as a radio presenter, and they had a few people that they wanted to get in who'd never been to a casino before, put on a massive spread, and I would say it was the beigest buffet I've ever seen in my life. Everything was deep fried, absolutely everything. And one person went past, and you know, they I wouldn't have said you'd look at them and go they were either healthy or unhealthy, either way it could be, but they got a nice big plate of everything beige, and we got chatting, and they said to me, "Oh, I don't normally eat this healthy, you know," and I was like, "What you, hey? Where do you start with that?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" "Well, you know, it's all this meat, isn't it? It's good, you know, it's good to get all this meat. It's all deep fried, though, isn't it? I wouldn't necessarily call that was healthy, but okay. I'm not going to talk to you. What can you say? I don't know what you can say about stuff like that. But it sort of illustrates, doesn't it? I guess that not everybody knows what they should be doing." And it clearly shows it's not something that we go, "Oh yeah, of course I'll eat this or I'll eat that and I'll be a lot better." Probably that's not a good food for me. I perhaps can still eat it, but in moderation. But a lot of people just don't know.
Maybe there aren't any. Maybe there's no such thing as a bad food, and it's just how, like you say, how much we consume, right? So something to think about. I'm going to bring up some comments. So Mr. Tony Walton's got a comment. "I completely relate to Ed in getting fitter and stronger while you compete. I let myself go when I finally quit cycling. I think it was mentally a relief and needed that space on the break from constant training."
Yeah, and do you know what? I think that's where I was with rugby. In that literally my diet was so focused on being better or building muscle or getting stronger or faster or whatever, that when I couldn't play anymore, I kind of went, I'll take a bit of time off. I'm not going to let myself go completely. I'll find another way to be competitive and be fit, but I'm going to enjoy myself for a little bit. And then 20 years later, I was still enjoying myself quite a lot, and I'd done nothing about it. So
yeah, I mean, when you're telling that story, it reminds me when I was at university. I started at the gym, and I became quite buff. I was quite strong, but then I stopped going. But as like you, I carried on eating the same amount of calories, and I put on quite a bit of weight. But you see this with a lot of people, actually. You know, especially people who are in the fit, you know, being quite fit. When they stop, they carry on eating at the same level. You know, you do see quite a lot of. I mean, you look at the generals in America. Some of them are quite big because they used to be lean and fit, but then they carried on eating the things. It's those, again, because back to you, Jenny. It's those habits. We build those habits up, but we need to adjust them when we change our training. And coming back to Tony's comment and Ed, we need variety. Training can be really boring. There's nothing more boring than being on a rowing machine or a running machine for half an hour. You know, I remember the cross-country runs at school. Most of us hated it. There was only one lad who loved it because he had the perfect brain for it. I presume he went into you know, a nice calm state for himself. But for most of us, you know, I mean, my ideal solution to training is if somebody could switch my whole body off, so I literally was asleep, train my body, and then give it back to me at the end. That would be perfect, because it's, you know, it's hard, it's boring, and
yeah. You know, and you like to listen to podcasts. You like to listen to podcasts and stuff like that, don't you, Pete? While you train,
I like to listen to. I like to do multiple things. I can't just do one thing. And it is that variety. A lot of the exercise that is sometimes the best for me is when I'm just messing about and not actually thinking about it. because you're not focused on it. You're just enjoying yourself.
Yeah,
I think that's an interesting one. So yeah, if you're getting bored with your training, I'd say change it around. There's plenty of different things.
Another comment from James Fowler: having a plan, split the goal down to smaller targets so you can keep track of the growth. I know James is a bit of a nutter when it comes to exercise. He's out for 50,000 miles a day on his bike, and then a 100-mile run is. But yeah,
I remember when I first spoke to James and he told me all the training he did. I went, "What?"
Even I said that. I was like, "What? You need to stop. Have a rest."
So yeah, he needs to rest. He needs to, you need to break. But he's right. Small steps.
Yeah.
As Johnny says,
people think they need to beast themselves all the time. You know, I come from a military background, and as far as I was concerned, if I wasn't in a hot, sweaty mess every day after my workout, then I hadn't done it right. And that's just not the case. You don't need to be doing that all the time. You don't need to be on it all the time. You got to, there's periods in the year when you might be training really hard for something, but then rest and then go again. But don't be just like beasting yourself. And of course, that's where pain and injury comes in, when you're just not allowing your body any time to recover and rest in between. And variation.
Yeah, but obviously you're the expert. But isn't the actual magic in your muscles and your muscle growth and body growth actually happening when you rest, not actually when you're working out? It's in the recovery stage, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. It's not happening when you're working out. That's just where you're tearing it down.
Yeah, good way to put it, Jenny. I like that. Yeah, it's good. That's a good way to put it.
If you don't take the time to do the recovery, you're not actually doing it right.
Yeah. And there's plenty of things that people can do to recover, right? You can still go out and do some gentle exercise, like go for a walk, foam rolling, Pete, some stretching, mobility.
Oh, talking about recovery, I was going to ask you guys, because I've seen so many people have been getting those cold water pools, those plunge pools for Christmas, haven't they? Yeah. That seems to be the new thing that everybody's doing right now. Is there really any benefit in that? What do you reckon for recovery? Is that good, or is that more of an invigoration and waking you up situation?
Well, I mean, I'm lucky in that I live in the Lake District, so I go and jump in Lake Windermere to go and give myself a cold water plunge. But there is real science behind the benefits of that cold water. But of course, again, it's like anything: you've got to take it gradually. You can give yourself a heart attack if you go in too much. But
on that, my mother-in-law did some open air swimming. She just jumped in. She ended up in hospital with a minor, because she'd just gone all in. She hadn't eased in. So, my concern is people getting these things, they've got to ease themselves in. Don't jump in. And if you are worried, you need to go to a doctor, make sure you're okay. Yeah. Because it can be a dangerous thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. But there's huge benefits in it. Reducing inflammation. It's great for your mental health as well. There's been research behind how it can improve your mental health and resilience. Even just your own mental. When you know that you've gotten in the cold water, you've kind of beat down everything in your body that's saying, "Don't do it, and you've done it. That's kind of like a proof to yourself. It's like, oh, I can do stuff that's hard. I can overcome this. So there's a real mindset behind it as well.
Absolutely. Question from Eddie Young: should you have a plan B?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think so. I mean, it depends what your plan B is. Depends what your plan A is.
Yeah,
it depends what you're trying to achieve. But potentially, because if things do go wrong, if the shit hits the fan for whatever reason, and you need to sort of, back down, it's just like, rather than just go into a hole and feel sorry for yourself. Definitely, you might not necessarily write it down, but even if you're conscious of, right, okay, what else could I be doing? Then that's my opinion.
Pete, what do you think?
I'm a bit of I'm prone to overthinking, so I've got a plan X, Y, and Z usually. There's always something you can do. You should always have different ways. It's like in anything, we're on a journey. The path might change, but the destination stays the same. It doesn't matter how you get there, as long as you take those small steps to get there. And you might change the plan. You might do things differently. You might do things in a way that you've never thought of when you started out, because you didn't know. As we talk about that knowledge, you come across different ways. You come across people who are doing different things. You might think, oh, I'm never going to go running, but then you start to hang out with people who go running, James, and you go start running, even though you don't like it. It's path is.
Mandy dropped us a comment earlier. I was going out for a bit of a run with Mandy. We're going to go out soon again. What did you put? The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg is a great read. I've not seen that one. Anyone else seen that?
Yeah, I've got it here actually.
Got it.
Brilliant book. See, I've tagged it. Yeah, there's a couple of really good habit books out there. Really help to focus the mind and understand how the brain gets into those habit patterns and how to break out of them as well.
Okay. Hoping we can get Sanjay on for a LinkedIn Live at some point. He's very good at that stuff.
Yeah, I think with habits, especially with the books and things like that, you've got to choose the habits that work for you and your cognitive style. Because there's loads of different ways, but don't just because it works for somebody else, it might not work for you. You've got to find your way. You've got to find the specific ways that you do things. And I think that's sometimes the mistake people can make. That they'll go follow somebody's 12 steps, and those 12 steps might not be the right thing for those. This is where we come in as coaches, because we can understand what's going to work for that person's style, what the actual steps are. So we talk about people going off and following something, do it by themselves. Well, they might do the 12 steps, but it's not for them. We've got to find the habits that we can carry on doing, because if we don't, there won't be habits. They'll just become barriers, and we'll stop doing them. So, I've written down these books. These are more books for me to read on my massive pile of books. But yeah, I would say when you're reading self-development books or self-help books, sometimes I call them, because people sometimes read them and then they expect things to happen without doing anything. You've got to do stuff. Is take the bits that you know will work for you, or try something. As Jenny, you say, try a habit, see if it works. If it doesn't, then you try a different one. You find what works for you.
I don't know if this is a general thing about forming habits. It's something I found that works well for me, and I find this for most things actually, is just being really clear on your why, but not only being clear on your why, making your why as big as possible. So it's such a massive anchor to everything that you do. So what will your life be like if you don't manage to cement this as a habit? Why are you doing this? And every time you're perhaps, and I know you can get into that thing of going, right, okay, I've failed, I'm going to give up now. It's not, I don't think it's clear cut as black or white, win or lose when it comes to forming habits. We are all going to have a little bit of a moment, aren't we, every now and again, but it doesn't mean that you've lost and that you should stop and go, well, I didn't make it through January, I'll try again next year. That would be ridiculous, really, wouldn't it? So you've just got to keep going back to that why, making the why as big as possible, understanding what your life's like if you don't cement that as a habit. And then for me, once I understand that and make it as big and bright and colorful as possible, and that sort of promised land of what it will be like going, that's going to be amazing. It just helps me stay on track and stay motivated and make sure that habit does become one.
It's an interesting one. If anybody's on here who's tried and keeps failing at habits and trying to get the goals, the question has to be, was it important enough? Was your why important enough? Were you motivated enough? If you're not motivated enough, is it just something that was nice to have? There's things that I've set out and not accomplished, and then I realized it wasn't important enough. It was interesting, but it wasn't important enough. And as you say, Ed, you've got to understand. And when you come into that, sometimes around coaching, there's the 5 why questions. Ask the question 5 times, and you'll get deeper and deeper, and then you'll actually get to the core of it. Because lots of people's whys are not deep enough. They haven't understood it enough. Again, comes with working with us coaches, we can actually understand what that why is, and dig a little bit deeper. Somebody might say, well, I want to lose some weight. Why do you want to lose the weight? Well, I want to, I don't want to be out of breath when I get up the stairs. Well, why don't you want to be out of breath? And you bear it down. It usually sometimes comes like, well, actually, I'd like to be around when the kids are older. I don't want to. That is the why. That is the why, and people need to work on that. You've got to have a good, strong why.
Yeah. So what's your guys' views on motivation? Because I think it does just come and go, right? It is an external force, whereas we all say discipline outweighs motivation. So again, that's creating those habits and then just being disciplined and doing what you said you was going to do, no matter how you feel, right? What's your guys' view on that?
Yeah, Totally. I mean, discipline is it underpins it all, really, doesn't it? And there'll be days when you don't feel like doing it, and that's when you have to say, I'm just going to do it anyway. You don't feel like doing it, do it anyway. You know, it's that, and there you said, Peter, it comes back to that why. You know, I asked that with my clients. I do the 5 why exercise at the very start of my program, just sort of say why, you know, why you want to achieve this, because until you dial that down, it's nothing's gonna get you out of bed. Nothing's gonna make you choose that apple over the biscuit. Nothing's gonna, unless you've got a strong enough reason.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think, as you say, with the habits and the systems, it's trying to remove as many barriers when for your motivation. So, for example, you know, having your running kit ready for the morning so you don't have to scrat around. Having your bike out ready just to go when you want to go out on your bike. You know, the less barriers you put to actually doing something, the more chances are you have of doing it. And motivation, you can share what your motivation is and have people support and cheer you on. But again, you've got to be careful. Some people don't want you to succeed. It sounds awful, but you know, oh, you'll never do that. You know, tell them to stop off. People, there's people who are demotivator. You want to hang around with the people who are going to motivate you, drive you on. Again, like, well, you know, the communities that we've got around us. You know, when you're having that bad day, you can reach out and somebody else will motivate you. It is really, you know, you've got to put the systems and methods and have the right people around you for motivation. And have a deep why. So, and what do you think, Ed?
Yeah, I mean, isn't that the reason that most people fail when it comes to New Year's resolutions? That motivation wanes, I would imagine. Something gets in your way and you go, yeah, I've done it for a few weeks now. Whereas discipline is going to be the thing, isn't it? And like you say, making your life as easy as possible, putting as few barriers in your way, getting your running kit ready and things like that. And that becoming the routine rather than actually going for the run. Sometimes it's actually the smaller things that need to become the habit rather than the big goal. So it's that classic thing, isn't it, of how do you eat an elephant? You know, one bite at a time. Yeah, and it just feels like that's the way to do it. And I feel like I am a classic. I set big goals in January, and quite often by the middle of January, I'm like, oh, well, we'll try again another time, which is why I kind of started reading James Clear's Atomic Habits, because I wanted to look at them in a different way. And I'm only just starting on that journey with it at the moment, but already I feel like my mindset is changing in terms of how I actually want things to be, which is good. And it's already helping. And I kind of think, right, okay, this could be the way to do it, rather than let's get ourselves a 6-pack in 4 weeks when I already look like a keg. You know, that's just so yeah, that's good.
I think we can save probably social media impacts on fitness for another chat. What do you reckon, James?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
So many unrealistic ideals out there that I think that warrants a chat in itself. So
yeah,
people's outside not actually reflecting their inside.
Yeah.
Couple more comments came up. James Rogers, I found cold water baths amazing in terms of recovery after training and marathons. I definitely noticed a significant difference in terms of recovery from when I didn't do it. Okay, so there we go. There's some evidence for you that they are good. James is a bit of a nutter when it comes to goal setting. He did a 70-mile ultra marathon last year, which he did very well at, and I think he's doing it again this year. And then James Fowler's given another comment. Given my discipline with my exercise, James, you forgot the swimming and gym sessions. In brackets, my discipline with food is nowhere as good. Any advice? It's chocolate and crisps.
Chocolate crisps.
I think you burn it off, James. You do that much exercise. Your intake. We had to get his calories up from where he was, and he's lost quite a lot of weight in the last 6 to 8 months. So. Again, that's that. Is it a trigger? Is it a trigger point, James, or is it just that you like chocolate and crisps too much? I don't know.
or is it, James? Stop beating yourself up and setting the achievement too high. You're amazing at what you do. Stop looking at focusing on the negatives. Focus on the positives and everything you've accomplished.
I think if you're burning it off, I mean, it sounds like you're doing amazing things. And if you're burning it off, as long as you get I mean, I can go down a whole other route with this, but as long as you're getting the nutrition in, so as long as well as the chocolate and crisps, you are getting, you know, all your good vitamins and minerals in, all your macronutrients. You know, I'm not into counting and weighing food or anything like that. It's not how I work with people, but it's really important that you're getting the vitamins and minerals in. And chocolates and crisps, it's fine if you're burning it off, as long as you've got the right, underpinned by the correct, you know, nutritional value in your food. I always used to say I only training so I can eat and drink more. I mean, that's how I got into it. But yeah, really important that you're building your body up with the correct vitamins and minerals, and then chocolates and crisps, fine if you're doing the work.
Yeah, yeah. Just let us know how many packets of crisps and how many chocolate bars you're eating, James.
Yeah.
Just dissect that a bit more.
Yeah.
Right.
Time, James. I mean, it's so
45
easy.
minutes on
these guys.
Not stop. I think we'll call it a day at that. What do you think?
Yeah, that's good.
Any final thoughts from anyone?
No, this is great. I mean, I can talk about this stuff all day long. That's
absolutely
on really quickly.
Yeah, looking for our listeners, we are going live every Monday at 12 o'clock. So if anyone just wants to come on as a guest, just let us know. And then we'll be back next week. But thank you so much, Ed and Peter, for coming on as our
no problem. Thanks for having
me. Guest. I hope it was most enjoyable for you. And that's it. Thank you from me.
Thank you from me.
Well, and we'll see everyone next time. Thank you very much.
See you next week.
Yeah.
Bye bye.